guys all set? All right, let it go. We're going to go ahead and call the Morgan County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for May 23rd, 2022 to order. We do have a quorum this evening with all board members present. Mr. Rumball, would you mind leading us all in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Please.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Bo.
Thank you, everyone. Copies of the minutes were sent out from our last meeting. Were there any changes or corrections that need to be made to those minutes?
I have none.
If there aren't any, then I'll open for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Abstain.
Thank you. Fred wasn't here last meeting. The agenda was sent out to us in advance of the meeting this evening. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? In that case, open for a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. A second?
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. Folks, anyone who's going to be speaking this evening, we're going to ask you to stand up here and have Mr. Peden, the board's attorney, swear you all in, please. Thank you, Mr. Peden. Thank you, everyone. We were going to go in order of the agenda this evening. When I call you up, please come up to the podium. If you're the applicant, we would like you to start out by giving us your name and your address and the reason why you've applied for the variance and why you feel the board should grant your request. If you're here in opposition or in support of a petition, we would ask you again, when I call you up, to come to the podium, start out by giving us your name and address, and tell us why you're either opposed to or in support of the application. Our first item on the agenda this evening under new business is public hearing D-22-06. John Adams is requesting a development standard variance to reduce the side yard setback for an accessory pole barn to 5 feet. The property is located at 7624 North Hall Road in Gregg Township and is zoned for ag. For this application, I have Tom Clements in support of and James Falkenberg in opposition to, and no one is an interested party. Is it Ted Clements? Yes. Okay. Ted, if you would, are you the applicant? No. You're his father. Do we have something? We do have something allowing you to speak for the applicant. Please come up to the podium.
Yeah, this basically, he wants to build a pole barn.
Hold on a second. Your name and your address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ted Clements, 1438 North Drexel Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46201.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically, he's wanting to build a pole barn. He can't put it on the other side of his house because of septic and issues like that, so it's kind of the only place that the barn will work on his property.
Is that it?
That's it.
Gentlemen, questions?
basically you're
pole barn
saying
is
that
this?
I'm sorry?
How big is this gonna be?
I'm not sure the exact size. I don't know if it's on here or not.
Other questions from the board members?
I talked to his wife, and she said it was gonna be 32 by 48 feet. She called him, and that's
Yeah,
what she
I
told
mean,
me.
that sounds about right. I don't know the exact dimensions of it.
How close will this pole barn be to your closest neighbor's residence?
To the driveway or to an actual residence?
An actual residence?
I believe it was 2 or 3, it says in here somewhere, 200 or 300 feet.
And what's the pole barn gonna be used for?
Just storing lawn equipment, vehicles. Is approximately 380 feet to the nearest house. Oh, wait, no, 213 feet.
And does your son live on the property now?
Yes,
And what's his name?
John Adams.
And is the property used for any commercial purposes right now? Is there any kind of repair businesses or sales businesses running off the property?
No.
Gentlemen, any other questions?
You said lawn equipment will be stored in there. Is that for use on the property, or is it you have a lawn business?
No, just for use on the property.
Okay.
Any other questions? I have none. No, thank you. James Falkenberg?
James Falkenberg, 7666 North Hall Road. I am the property owner that has the driveway right next to it where he wants to, come within 5 feet. I don't have a super good reason not to, but when I talked with him a month or so ago before he filed, I told him I didn't have a problem with him coming to 10 feet, no problem, but 5 just seems close to me. I got to drive right next to that barn every time to turn in my drive, to finish the turn into my driveway there. You notice it on the map you've got there. My driveway is right on my property line, because I only have a 20-foot right-of-way coming in for that one stretch of the property there. And then my driveway makes that 90-degree bend right where the barn is. And I'm the house that's probably 200 feet away from him. But it's just, my reason is just driving so close to that barn every day. 5 foot just seems, just close. So that's all, only thing I got.
Gentlemen, questions for the board?
How long you lived out there?
Moved out there and I built the house in '83.
Did you discuss the clearance with the,
I did discuss it with John originally, before he filed, and then I just talked to him on the phone saying, let him know that I was coming down to contest it, because 10 feet I'm okay with. Right off the bat, I didn't have any problem. 5 feet just seems close to me.
What if he put a fence up?
Pardon?
What if he put a fence up in the property line? How would that affect you?
If we put a fence on that property line,
If he
yeah,
put a
I'd be
fence up
closer
in the
yet
property
than,
line, huh?
yeah, if we put a fence on the property line, my driveway is only a foot or two away from the fence. So then it'd really be tight.
Do you have any equipment, heavy equipment, anything using that driveway other than
No,
your
just,
personal vehicles?
just vehicles, you know, the raised trash service drives down the driveway, you know, and gets every week with their truck and gets my dumpster. I do have some deliveries once in a while with straight trucks, you know, because you can't make in there with a semi or anything. I've got truck and trailer and haul, you know, in and out, and tractor, you know, just maintenance property stuff. I mean, it's not that I can't do it. It just, just seems close.
Is it the aesthetics of it and seeing it?
Well, I mean, the house I see now, you know, when I moved out there, there wasn't anything, you know, and then the house got built. So the aesthetic side has already been lost.
But when you moved out, when you bought this, was there a driveway in place?
No, there was nothing over there, that corner of that lot.
Okay.
It was all empty.
So,
And
but-
now our two driveways are right parallel with each other. Mine's the gravel driveway.
okay, all right. And how much land do you have there?
I have 34 acres.
Okay, but it looks like you've got just a sliver where your driveway comes
It's
back.
a 20-foot
to
right-of-way. Whenever I bought that off of James Grayson, the land, I put in there a right-of-way because the rest of the road frontage wasn't that great. And in hindsight, I should have asked for 40. Didn't know what I was doing back then when I was only, you know, 19, 20 years old.
So did you discuss this with the applicant?
Yes, I even called him on the phone here, and he said he'd live with whatever was decided. You know, he said he'd live within the 10-foot if he had to, so. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not trying to be a bad neighbor or anything, we've got to get along, so, you know, I don't want to. So I just thought I'd bring that, like I said, leave it in your guys' hands to decide. So,
But I guess kind of to Bill's point, you understand, he could put a privacy fence down that property. Go
I
ahead and have a
understand.
seat, sir, the applicant.
I understand, I understand, he could, I guess, and then that would just be really tight then, so. So, yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure you understand that's a possibility as well.
yeah, and that would definitely be tight. I'd have to probably try and shift my driveway a little bit over more, you know, to the other side of the 20-foot, you know, because it's not quite centered, it's probably leaning more, probably favors more of the property line than it does to the other property line on that
Yeah,
20-foot.
and you understand that he's going to be 5 feet off that property line. We're not giving him
Yes, I understand.
right, which we couldn't do for him to encroach on your property.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right,
understand.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right.
But your easement is only 10 feet wide to get in
20
there?
foot.
20 feet?
Yeah, 20-foot easement.
And you're the only property that uses that drive? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Other questions from the board members?
I have no others.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
There's some trees along that,
Hang on a minute. Did you have a question for him?
No, okay.
there's trees between
Yes.
your driveway and the property line too, or on his
Right.
property, right?
A couple of those trees are pretty much right on the property line. I mean, I'll still be driving closer to trees than I will the building. You know, the building will be a little farther back from my drive. It's just, as much as anything, aesthetics and, you know, just, I don't know. See, my thought was to him was, I mean, he didn't ask for going back any closer to the other property line, which is Barney Blacklock's. And there's, nobody will ever be doing anything in that corner of that property the way it sits. If he went back, then he could push over a little bit closer to the house, the way the house sits at an angle. So, you know, that was my suggestion to him originally, so.
Any other questions from the board members?
None.
All right, thank you, thank you. right, Mr. Clemens.
Yes, I talked to my son on the way here, and he said that, you know, if it would make everybody happy, he would be willing to move it back to 10 feet instead of 5 feet. If that makes everybody happier.
Well, his request is for 5 feet, but if you're saying that he'd be okay with 10, then that's something I think we'd consider. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So we've heard from everybody that signed up to speak on this matter. We'll end that portion of the meeting, and this is an application for a development standard variance. In order for the board to grant this, we have to agree that the applicant meets 4 findings of facts. So under number 1, it says proposed use variance, describe the proposed use of the property, use, type of use, hours of operation, access, necessary construction, employees, et cetera. And the applicant writes in that residential pole barn / garage / access from home to garage for ease of access. Then notes parking vehicles in personal property storage. Number 2, under 2.1, it makes a statement, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The applicant has indicated that that statement is true and is written, will not harm others around me. There's many built already on our road. Under 2.2, the statement is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and the applicant indicates that that is true. And notes, this barn will not affect my neighbor's access or property at all. He/they will have total access to his property and surrounding areas. And then lastly, under 2.3, the statement is the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. The applicant has checked off that that statement is true and has written the left side of our home is the best access point for our family due to the right side of my property / home housing our water main and septic utilities, et cetera, and would interfere with building construction. For the technical reports, the health department states they have no objections. The surveyor makes no statement. And for the staff recommendation, they have written, the first finding of facts ask if the reduced setback will have a negative impact on the public health and general welfare. Detached garages and similar accessory structures are commonplace throughout the county. This use in this location will not have a negative impact on the public health and welfare. The second finding of fact asks if the approval will adversely affect the neighbor's property values. The closest neighbor's home is 213 feet from the proposed barn location. There is a driveway access that runs parallel with the petitioner's property line, which leads to a house that is about 380 feet from the proposed barn. Using the county's GIS tools, staff estimates that the pole barn with the 5-foot setback will sit about 10 to 12 feet from the gravel driveway that passes closest to the proposed garage. Though narrow, 5 feet still allows the petitioner to erect and maintain the structure without encroaching on the neighbor's property. The third finding asks what practical difficulty exists that makes approving the variance necessary. The petitioner has indicated that the location of underground water lines and septic system restricts where the pole barn can be built and still provide the convenient access desired by the petitioner. For these reasons, staff believes that the petitioner has satisfied the findings of facts and recommends approval of the petitioner's request to reduce the side yard setback to 5 feet. Gentlemen, open for discussion.
Having fence lines with, in one case, my neighbor's fence on my property or his driveway, I don't see a real problem due to the inconvenience of moving that place anywhere else. From looking at the picture here, I do not know how far away his house would be from the barn. But from the picture that we have written on here, it looks like it would be practically stepping out of the back porch and stepping into the barn. I would have no problem approving his request.
Thank you. Other discussion or comments?
I think to pacify the evils on the thing, he's agreed that he could set it back 10 feet. I'd say let him set it back 10 feet. That way you sure wouldn't have any obstructions in. He's agreed to do it.
Thank you. Jerry or Gordon? No?
I would be for granting the approval when he requested. If he's kind enough to move it back 10 feet, that would be frosting on the cake.
And move it a little farther away from the house. It's pretty close to the house. That corner of it is. But that's up to them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off, Gordon?
No.
Okay. This is a rural area. There's pole barns. If everybody doesn't have one, they're going to at some point in time, it seems like, on most of the properties. He's off of the property line. He's asking for 5 feet of variance, or a variance to narrow it down to 5 feet. I don't know that I'd want to tell him where he could position it in relationship to his house. I think that would go more towards the building inspector and codes and that kind of thing that I'm not versed on. I think if he wants to move it back 10 and is able to do so, then great. But his request is for 5, and I would be in favor of supporting that as it is. And if he wants to move it back 10 and help appease his neighbor, so be it. My thought. Any other discussion? No. Open for a motion.
I would move to approve public hearing D-22-06. Based on the reasons stated in the staff report on 2.1, on 2.2, I would again approve it based on the reasons stated in the staff report, and on 2.3, I would base it based on the staff report approving the petition.
So I have a motion to approve with no conditions. Do I have a second to that motion? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Fred, did you vote in favor of that?
No.
No? Okay. All opposed? Same sign? Okay. So it's approved 4-1. All right. Thank you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're certainly not required. All right, our next item on the agenda is public hearing D-22-07. Silverthorne, is that correct? Holmes on behalf of Stephen and Lisa, is it Steed? Thank you. Is requesting a development standard variance to build a primary residence across lot lines in Foxcliff South. The property is located at 2020 Norwich Place in Washington Township and is zoned R1. And for this application, I have Jason Wheeler in support of, and no one in opposition, and no one as a person interested. Are you Jason? Yes. Do we have something signed from the applicant allowing Jason? Jason is the applicant. Okay. Am I looking at the wrong one here? Okay, all right. Please come up.
Okay, I'm Jason Wheeler, address 9225 Harrison Park Court, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46216. The home that we are wanting to build for the homeowner doesn't fit on the lot. The homeowner will own both lots. If you look at the picture, second from the back, it's yellow, has a blue X. Looks like this. Okay, so those are the two lots. If you look right across the street, that home right across the street is actually tilted towards that corner, same corner that we're wanting to, and it was built across two lot lines. And it looks like they actually went and, for tax records, made it one lot across the street from Norwich. So that's what we're proposing to do because the home won't fit. In order to meet the HOA and the county requirements. So we're asking to be able to build across that lot line. I think we're building like 1 foot 6 inches across the lot line. And that allows everybody, makes everybody happy. I've actually got Mike here from the HOA Board of Directors of Foxcliff South. There's a letter, mine's yellow, from the Foxcliff Building Control Committee, Charles Molson, that says they completely approve building across the lot line for lot 630 and 631 in Foxcliff. Won't affect the property values or the aesthetic pleasing of the neighborhood. So that's what we're requesting.
Gentlemen, questions for the applicant? No. Jerry? No? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, we don't have anyone else signed up to speak, so we'll end that part of the meeting, go into our, what am I going into here? Public hearing to public meeting. Only been doing this for, I don't know, 12 years, and don't remember that part.
Is this your first time here?
You would think, wouldn't you? You really would. Okay. This is an application for a development standard variance. In order for us to approve this, we have to agree that the applicant meets 1, 2, 3, 4 findings of facts. The first being that it says proposed use variance describe the use of the property. The applicant has noted homeowner owns both lots. Home being built will not fit on lot and still meet HOA and county requirements. We're asking to be allowed to build across the lot line onto lot 63D, which the homeowner will own. The HOA at Foxcliff South has already approved, and then in parentheses, see letter. Under 2.1, the statement is the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. And the applicant indicates that's a true statement and has written the variance will not affect comfort, health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community. As you can see from the aerial view also attached This exact scenario was approved across the street at Norwich. It has been approved by HOA and county many other times. Under 2.2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The applicant indicates that's also a true statement and has written it will not affect property values or us in any way, as this is a residential home in a residential community. Under 2.3, the statement is a strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes, the customer and HOA at Foxcliff South prefer the home orientation be turned towards the corner of Southampton Drive in Norwich. The HOA has approved building across the lot line. The homeowner will own both lots 63 and 630. The home won't fit on the lot without the variance and still satisfy the HOA. Health Department states they have no objections to the proposed variance. The surveyor responded but made no comment. Staff's recommendation is, this is a corner lot, which means it has 2 front yard setbacks. The petitioner's desired house plans and the HOA's preferred positioning of the house on the corner lot would result in the need to build across the lot line or seek a variance from rear yard setback. Building across lot lines has been acceptable in this subdivision, and because the petitioners satisfy the findings of facts, staff is not opposed to the variance to request to build a residence that crosses the property line between lots 630 and 631. Gentlemen, open for discussion?
Sounds logical.
We've done this on several other occasions out there in this area, due to the lot sizes and everything, that makes it
I went and looked at it.
inadequate to build a sizable structure out there on the individual lots, so I don't see any problem with it.
I went out and looked at it, and it's plenty of room there to build what he's wanting to build and not bother anybody that I know of.
Yeah. Jerry?
Very similar to the other houses in the county that need to go across lot lines.
Yeah, who's, Mike? Who's Mike? Mike, thanks for coming in. I can't let you speak because you didn't sign up, but thank you for coming in. Appreciate that. Seriously, it's great when a homeowner and a builder works together with the homeowners association, and we love seeing that partnership, and we appreciate you making the effort to come in tonight. I would support this as well. As several members have mentioned, we've done this numerous times out there. I think it makes perfect sense to position the house the way they're asking, and it would require them to have more space than what they have.
Yeah.
So I'd be in support of this as well. Any other discussion? No? Open for a motion?
Motion, we approve D-22-07, development of standard variance for Jason Wheeler, based on the findings of the facts that are all true as per the application and the staff reports, as it says.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve with no conditions. Do I have a second for that motion?
I make a motion, we approve it.
You making a second?
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is approved, 5-0. Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate it. All right, our next item on the agenda this evening is public hearing D-22-08. Joseph Beasley is requesting a development standard variance to reduce the side yard setback for a primary residence from 25 feet to 10 feet. The property is located at 0 Benton Lane in Gregg Township and is zoned ag. For this application, I have the applicant, Joseph Beasley. And no one else signed up in opposition to or as an interested party. Mr. Beasley?
Thank you, board members, for your time. I'm Joseph Beasley. I currently live at 8814 New Heritage Court in Indianapolis. That's in Franklin Township, which is the southeast portion of Indianapolis. I'm requesting to build a house on what is currently now owned by my father-in-law. I've lived in Beech Grove, Indianapolis area my entire life. I've always wanted to go out and kind of go out to the country. This land is now available to me. On that street, which has a few houses on it already, my house would be the fourth house that's owned by a family member of my wife. So basically my whole in-laws live on that street. Be nice to put down some roots. The reason I'm asking for the setback itself, because this property that's available to me, it's like 4.7 acres roughly, and most of that land is covered with either trees or a floodplain due to Lamb's Creek running along the east side of the property. The farther I can get my house up on the hill, it would help with the septic area. It would help with making sure my house isn't going to flood in 10 years or next year, something like that. So the higher I can go up, the better. The house is going to be about halfway up a hill because the other half of the hill is owned by another person. So I'm very limited to what I can do. In order to get this to work, it's going to be like a puzzle piece. It is in the agriculture zoning, but there's, as you can see on the map, there's probably 4 or 5 houses on that on that street already. Even with my house there, you can't see, if I could look out any side of the house that I'm proposing to build, and you wouldn't be able to see a neighbor. So it's not going to affect any other property owner as far as their home value or disturbances. I mean, I bet you I could have a dog barking and no neighbor would be able to hear it due to the distance between the houses. I just don't want my house to flood, and I want to be able to build on the property.
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, sir.
No? Questions from the board members?
I
Please.
have a couple maybe. Is it gonna just be this one driveway?
Yes,
That's the only driveway to get into your house and stuff? Okay.
correct.
I drove down by there. To me, it's gonna be an awful big turn to get everything in that driveway. It's a beautiful sight. I'm not saying it's not. It's beautiful, but to get off that little road, major road, to get in there is, you know, a couple of meetings ago, the guy was talking about a ladder getting close to the property line. You got trees and stuff there to get. I know a lot of people get houses in somewhere you don't know how they'd ever get them in there, but I'm just saying that it may be rough getting it in there.
Yeah, it's
Other
understood.
than that, I don't have any problem.
I've talked with the proposed contractor that would build the house and getting trusses down there, you know, to build the house and equipment to do the septic. You know, it's gonna be tight, but I do think it's doable. The house that my sister-in-law is building on that same street currently, they had to have a semi back the truck backwards just so they could get the trusses off for their house. So it's tight, but.
Are you gonna clear a lot of trees out of there?
No, we'll have to clear a couple, like maybe 2 larger ones. The rest is just like brush and weeds. But on the, I hope it shows, on, well, there's no great video, there's no great picture.
Well, I seen the flags, it was pretty clear there.
Yeah, so on the property running about halfway south on the property, running east to west, there is a clearing of trees, and that's where the proposed house would go. There's only 1 or 2 trees that I'm foreseeing that I'd have to remove to get the house to fit there. But other than that, I want to try to keep most of the trees as possible, just more for aesthetic purposes, living out in the country. It'd be nice to look out, and, I mean, I've lived in the inner city area my whole life, and not that many trees.
The property that you're asking us to allow you to encroach upon, who owns that?
Don Dorset?
Is he a family member?
No.
Okay.
Don Dorset owns well over 100 acres, like 300, 400 acres. Right now, he said, well, he told me in person he didn't care how far I went up to his property line, because right now my, I guess, grandfather on my wife's side cuts that grass, and when he goes up and cuts the grass, he just cuts to where he thinks the line is, because there's no set marker there. So he doesn't do anything with that property. The conversation that I had with him is he was at one point hoping that one of his 3 daughters would build on top of that hill, but they don't want any part of it, according to him. And then, I mean, if anybody would, I don't know why anybody would build on that property, because it's on a hill. I mean, they're probably going to want to build if Don sells it, or Don has a daughter or family member build on his property, it's going to be more on the top, farther west, on the flat part. And then even if a house was there, you wouldn't be able to see my house, because my house is halfway down the hill.
How big a house are you building?
It's a 2,000 square foot house with a 2,000 square foot walkout basement.
Okay.
And it's a walkout basement, but having a basement on that property is even more reason why I would like the setback, because floods and basements don't like each other.
Okay. Other questions? None. No. Thank you.
Like,
All right, have no one else signed up to speak on this application? The applicant on this is asking for a development standard variance, and on this, we have to agree that he meets 3 findings of facts. The first, under 2.1, the applicant writes, if approved, a single-family home will be built on the property will have 0 injurious effect to on public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Under 2.2, the applicant has written, areas surrounding the property are large vacant areas. The approval of the variance will not conflict with any use of the adjacent land surrounding the property. The home in which the property would be located is already on a residential street. In addition, due to the spacing between homes already on the street, the house to be built would still be out of any direct line of sight from any other home and far enough away that common noises such as vehicles, air conditioner, lawnmower, person-to-person communication, garage doors, etc., would be non-existent at best and unidentifiable at worst. And under 2.3, the applicant has written the property is to be used for a single-family dwelling, and the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the dwelling. A majority of the property is unusable for a dwelling as it sits in a floodplain. The terms of the ordinance restricts the ability to use the land for the proposed dwelling as it keeps the dwelling from being further away from the floodplain to mitigate risks of structural damage or the ability to install a septic system. The health department states they have no objections to the proposed variance. The surveyor replied but made no comment. And staff's recommendation is, the first finding of facts asks if the reduced setback will have a negative impact on the public health and general welfare. This is a residential use and will have no adverse impact on the public's general welfare. The second finding of facts asks if the approval will adversely affect the neighbor's property values. Again, this is a residential use in an area of very low density. The petitioner will still have ample room to maintain the structure without encroaching on a neighbor's property. The third finding asks what practical difficulty exists that makes approving the variance necessary. In this case, the significant area the special flood hazard area creates the practical difficulty on where the house can be located. For these reasons, staff supports the petitioner's request to reduce the side yard setback to 10 feet. Gentlemen, open for discussion and comments.
Practical request by a practical reason.
By looking at the property and stuff out there, he's got his hands full.
Jerry, any comments? No.
Wouldn't dig a deep basement.
Yeah, I would be in support of this application. I think he's met the findings of facts required for us to approve this. Open for a motion.
I make a motion we approve D-2208, petition from Joseph Beasley, development standard variance, based on the finding of the facts and the staff recommendations coming out of it. Off of his application, I vote we approve it.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rumble. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
It's approved, Mr. Beasley. Thank you, and welcome to Morgan County. Parker, do we have a plan director's report this evening?
Nothing to add, except that we will have a meeting next month, so we get to practice being chair.
Excellent. Well, hopefully practice makes perfect. It hasn't so far in the last, I don't know, 5 years or 4, however many it's been. Mr. Peden, any attorney's report this evening? Thank you. Our next meeting, it states, is going to be on June 27th. Barring anything else, open for a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Second from Jerry or Gordon, take your pick. All in favor, please raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.